Now, objections around the US expansion plan from right-wing factions in Israel is complex and layered. The mayors of the settlements in Judea and Samaria continue to debate over whether the annexation plan should be adopted and if it is, under what circumstances. One of the most prominent supporters of the program is the mayor of Efrat, Oded Revivi, who joins us to explain why he thinks the Trump plan is good for Israel and settlement. Oded Revivi, great to have you with us. Talk us through why you believe the expansion plan should be embraced as it is.
I think we're facing an opportunity that we have a president in the United States of nothing having such a close friend and ally to the state of Israel. He's surrounded by a group of assistants and advisors who all support Israel and are keen to protect Israel. And they've come up with a plan which is a completely U-turn to what we were used to. Since 1967, since the Roger Plan in 1968, it has been time after time by different presidents, different leaders, always brought to the table that Israel has to withdraw to the 1967 plan. We've never had an opportunity of an American president who says, I want to try and promote a plan that means that no Israeli, no Jew will have to actually evacuate his house. Everybody is staying exactly where they live today. And I think that is one of the major shifts that there is in this plan that we need to take hold of and grasp and move forward with.
It's certainly not a voice that we've heard so far in this conversation when we hear from perhaps representatives from the settler leaders. We hear a lot of concern about the establishment of a future Palestinian state. Is that not a concern of yours?
It is a concern, but we have to remember how the plan is drawn. Number one, stage one, Israel can apply Israeli law over the areas where all the Jews who live in Judea and Samaria actually live. Stage two, the Palestinian people need to take upon themselves 10 conditions that I don't know any Israeli who says he doesn't agree with those 10 preliminary conditions. That they give up the right of return, that they are recognizing the right of us as having a Jewish state, that they recognize Jerusalem as being the capital, that they're not going to carry on paying to families of terrorists. All those things are extremely important, are in the consensus.
Right, but
if the Palestinian people actually take upon themselves those conditions, right, and they really act upon them, then we start negotiations which can last for up to 4 years, that then they might get a Palestinian state in the words of President Trump. Prime Minister Netanyahu insists that's what President Trump calls it. I don't call it a state because they won't have control over their borders and they won't have their own army, which means that it's more or less like the Palestinian Authority that we have today.
And that is what I wanted to raise with you, because, of course, the Palestinian Authority isn't interested in talking under US mediation. So this idea of negotiating for 4 years, it seems that every move that will be taken will have to be done unilaterally. And what do you say to that?
We always say about the Palestinians that they've never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. I think here there's another change in this plan. It's an indication to the Palestinian people. If you carry on missing the opportunity, they're going to run out. We're now going to apply Israeli law over 30% of the land. If you don't take the opportunity that you have now, you might be losing another 30%. And that is an attempt to shift the bucket, to shift the pressure to the other side and telling them, get your act together, otherwise you won't be left with anything.
And we are hearing reports that the United States is trying to get Israel to slow down. What do you expect will happen on July 1? You're talking about 30%, but we're hearing perhaps only 3% will be agreed to be expanded upon on July 1st. What do you expect to see happen?
The expectations at this point are extremely high. Prime Minister Netanyahu built up those expectations, flew to Washington, D.C. I accompanied him with those expectations. If the expectations are not met, there will be a lot of disappointment. As you mentioned, there already is a discussion within the right whether to support it or not. And therefore, the room to maneuver is very limited. But also the dates are very limited because we know that one of the reasons that there's so much pressure to actually go forward now is because the elections in the United States are in November 2020, and there isn't a lot of time to carry on until you can actually implement it.
And
Therefore, there might be some compromise, but I doubt if it will be as significant as you've mentioned.
Right, and that does speak to those concerns as to why Israel might be rushing. But we know, I have in my hand, Mr. Revivi, ILTV obtained a document that was drafted by the Israeli settler leaders on March 15 with the demands of the settler leaders to Netanyahu. Now, you were a part of the writing of this, and a lot has no doubt changed since then. But I want to look at a few sticking points. One is Route 60, which is a known flashpoint for violence. It's a road that links Hebron to Jerusalem, and many attacks on Jewish vehicles have occurred on this road over the years. Now, in this document, it shows that the settlers want a new road just for you. Where do things stand on that?
I have to admit, I don't know which document you're holding, and I'm not sure that I really was part of that document, so it's hard for me to respond to. What is important to know, and some of my friends are walking around with a map, the map only shows where the Israeli law is going to apply. Everything around it is going to say in exactly the same status as it is today, which means that the roads are going to be open both for Jews and for Arabs. The security services of Israel will carry on protecting the region. The status of the land and the people, not in the areas where the Israeli law is going to apply, is going to stay exactly the same. And that is definitely what we know at the moment, both from the Prime Minister, both from American officials. And in that respect, I tell my friends, don't be afraid of what you might see at the end of the next 4 years, because we have 4 years to negotiate it. The situation around us is not going to change, not regarding movement, not regarding security, and we need to carry on getting what we can and see where we lead to.
All right, well, we'll get the document that I'm holding into your hands, so we can, of course, get a confirmation as to whether you have seen this and get a confirmation as to what parts you agree with, and perhaps we can reconnect once again and see how things have moved. Oded Revivi, thank you so much for being with us and for that insight.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.